Alright now, hello and welcome. I can't wait for this. By me, we've got the Wieliczka Salt Mines, I think that's how you say it, on a day trip from Krakow. Come along and explore it with me. I've heard good things, so it should be amazing. Anyway, let's go. Alright, so let's get started and head into the mine. Also, just a quick note, if you are wanting to know some information about visiting for yourself from Krakow, that'll be at the end of this video. Anyway, I find myself at the back of the group as we begin by heading through this wooden chamber. After not much time at all, it's time to start heading underground. We spin round and round on this beautiful wooden staircase, getting sick at the sight of my own feet. Level by level, I look down a seemingly endless drop in between the stairwell. Tell you what, you definitely wouldn't want to be stuck down here in a power cut, would you? Very lost. And eventually, after walking down around 800 steps, we make it to level 1, which is 64 meters underground. And I just want to say in advance, I really did not consider the logistics of filming underground in a very dark mine. But hopefully, I've managed to do alright. Anyway, we wander along one of the many passages within the mine, and get our first glimpse at one of the cool sculptures which helped depict some miners from hundreds of years ago. On the way, I learned that there is over a staggering 200 kilometers of underground passages within the mine in total, although only about 2% of this is actually accessible to tourists. Many of the passages contain a series of these big wooden doors, like this one, which have to be closed before the next one can be opened. I think it's something to do with air ventilation, although I can't seem to find the exact reason and mechanism through which it works. Walking through this chamber excavated in the 17th century, I start to think the salt mine should actually be called the wood mine, for obvious reasons. But jokes aside, there is such an abundant use of timber to support the structure of the mine, and the salt also helps preserve the wood. And here is one of the earlier devices which would have been used to transport salt across the passages and out of the mine. While walking through, I can't help but think of how dark it must have been down here, or at least how many candles there must have been. And then we are met by the first proper open chamber of the tour. It has the same logs of wooden timber interlocked on one side of the wall, and a ceiling made of salt. But to the side, there is also one of many really cool sculptures which you'll find throughout the mine. As we carry on through the next tunnel, there are a couple of mysterious doors, and then another incredible doorway, guarding a curious darkness behind it. In this next chamber, I find 6 impressive sculptures which were created in 1967. They depict the finding of the salt formations, and there are also some cool little stalactites decorating the corner of the room. Carrying on our little adventure, the guide encourages us to have a little taste of the wall. I would not recommend. The next cavern is slightly bigger, and has some interesting figures who would have had a very dangerous job. It seems prisoners were often selected, who wore wet clothes and had a torch on a long stick. They would rub it against the ceiling to get rid of accumulating methane gas, although as you can imagine, this perhaps often would have resulted in deadly explosions. After a short walk through yet another dimly lit passage, I'm surprised to see some horses, models of course, but it's cool to think they would have had plenty real ones too, and would have helped pull this circular contraption to transport salt logs from each level, and eventually to the surface. Sadly, once the horses were brought into the mine, they probably spent the rest of their life underground, but supposedly they were treated like royalty. This chamber I'm in also contains a very cool bust of King Casimir the Great, who seemed to play an important role in the development of the mines all the way back in the 14th century. And don't worry, I'm now going to be quiet for a bit because I haven't shut up for about 4 minutes. hope you enjoyed the piece, but unfortunately now I am back. But you'll be thankful to know that just round this corner is the most incredible part of the salt mine. 100 metres underground, here is St. Kinga's chapel, and honestly I think it's worth visiting the salt mines just for this. This is basically an underground church, which would have been used by the miners. And I think it's honestly just incredible to think something of this size and beauty can be sculpted and carved out of salt. I really could have spent hours in here just to admire and appreciate its beauty. Inside, there are many really cool and intricate salt sculptures, most depicting something religious, like this one of the Last Supper. It really is a wonderful piece of artwork. And at the front, of course, is an altar. You can even have weddings here. Now that would be one to remember, wouldn't it? Within the chapel, there are also numerous chandeliers, which, believe it or not, are also made out of salt. Or the technical term actually is halite, a very pure form which has been used because of its transparency. I also couldn't help resist being a little bit naughty and hanging back behind the group, meaning I was lucky enough to enjoy the whole chapel to myself, even if just for a few seconds. It's time to get walking again, and I reluctantly leave Kinga's chapel behind, assuming that it was the grand finale of the tour. We find our way passing alongside a brine lake, with salt content so high it would likely be impossible to drown. Interestingly, the lake also radiates a strange bluey-green glow like I've never seen before. But even more impressive is the Michałowice Chamber, which seriously blew me away. Arguably more jaw-dropping than the chapel itself, strange interlocking wooden pipe-like pillars extend all the way to a seemingly never-ending ceiling. It can even be hired for small concerts for up to 100 people. I may have to add that one to the bucket list. After, there is a restaurant, shops and toilets, which is handy for a little break, and this chamber is also decorated with more impressive wooden beams. But moving on, we head into the Weimar Chamber, which was actually created using explosives. It's pretty extensive inside, containing another brine lake, and obviously, it's mysteriously dark when the lights are turned off. At this point, it hits me just how big this place is, how many endless chambers and passageways there are, and how many of these which will likely never be stepped foot in ever again. Making my way down this twisting staircase, I am met by another small lake, although this one interestingly has a small tunnel for a boat to pass through. The guide told us of a harrowing story in which some visitors many years ago suffocated under an overturned boat, in which they couldn't escape to safety because of the excessive salt content of the water. Pretty much at the end of the tour now, we are met by the tallest chamber in the whole salt mine, with an impressive 36 metres between the floor and the ceiling. It's certainly not a bad way to finish off the tour. I just stopped to buy a Pepsi Max and now I'm lost. Look, I've got the whole place to myself. I've been thinking, right, how cool would this place be to just hide, stay overnight and do a sleepover? I'd probably get lost and die, but yeah, part of the fun, innit? Cool place though, eh? Look at that. All to myself. Anyway, now, for those of you who want to visit for yourself, it's likely you'll be visiting the salt mines from Krakow, which is only around a 30-minute drive. But personally, I'd recommend using the Get Your Guide app. You'll find plenty of guided tours on there. You're probably looking to pay around £40 for the tour and transfer to and from Krakow. Just make sure you look at the different options and ensure you select a guided tour which offers transport along with the guided tour. I would also say, if you want to visit Auschwitz too, there are also a few tours which do both in one day. It is long, but I'd say both are a must-see while in Krakow, so it may be worth doing them both in one trip if you don't have too many days in Krakow. Anyway, thank you so much for watching as always, and you might want to check out my Krakow video while you're still here. See you next time.